right, good morning everyone. Welcome to day 5. We made it till the end. Great to see all of you again this morning. Those of you who came out last night for a drink at Patty's Pub, great to see you. Thanks for coming out, appreciate that. Hopefully you had a good time. So today is, it's a half day. We are available to support you in the afternoon if you want us to stay, if you've got data sets that you're working with and so on. But the formal part of the course will end at noon. It will actually end at around 11:30 because I've planned a little fun thing at the end. Yay. So I'm just going to show this. So I went and bought these slinkies for these guys to help with their lecture, but they didn't use them. So I'm planning to give them away. Now Brad's already got one because he helped us earlier this week. He gave us some really good market feedback, which was great. So we gave him one. But you can still play, Brad. We're going to have a game. You can play. But the top 4 people, basically what we'll do is a quiz. So it'll be like online, and I'll give you a pin, put your name, and then we'll see a leaderboard, like as people are answering questions, like who's winning and who's losing. Okay? And it's going to be some technical and some fun stuff. So it's not going to be all technical. So everyone gets a chance. And the other thing I'll mention is there's not always just one answer that's right. So keep that in mind. You have to read carefully. So I'll go into more detail later on that. Yeah, so anyway, we'll do that at 11:30. We'll have our break at probably at 10:30 again. And yeah, Gabrielle, pass over to you.
This will be a little bit similar to yesterday. With what we will do is we will run a Python script, some workflows specific to compact polarimetry, but at the end of this demo, with the data we will have generated, we will proceed to do a classification. We'll classify both full quad data and a compact pole data set using the same segmentation. So we will have a more natural feel about the differences between these two important type of SAR acquisitions. So the first workflow, just before we go into the Python script, the first workflow that we will do this morning is the one that I've called like the workflow is maybe for research and development. So it consists, like we saw yesterday, of ingesting the data, but we will use data that we have used yesterday. We will generate some compact polarimetric mode, and I think we'll focus mainly on the CTRL because this is the one that is like the RCM mission. Then we will filter the data and we'll extract some compact polarimetric information. And there is another Python script, which is really more like for research purposes. We will, again, filter the data, but we will generate, again, the CTLR mode. And then we will take 2 ways. We will first reconstruct a pseudo-covariance matrix. We'll see how it looks like. We saw it mathematically, but now we'll see how it looks like. And then we will extract pseudo-quad information, and the goal will be to compare it to the polarimetric information extraction. The quad analysis, we did it yesterday. So hopefully this morning, all the Python configuration problem are gone or have been solved yesterday, but we'll see it. We'll see it right away. So what we will need this morning is, yesterday we have generated the orthos. So I don't know where you have placed it on your computer, but in my case, I will show you. I will just start the magnifier. So what we need this morning is, yesterday we have generated the orthos for the full quad data, and we will be processing only one data just to reduce the amount of processing time because we don't want just to look at progress bar this morning. So the ortho we need is the ortho from the Lac Saint-Pierre acquired in October 12th. So it's the FQ15, 2009. So we will create a new folder. I will just copy this file. I will make a copy. And if you're going to follow the step, just raise your hand. We can slow down a bit. I will copy this ortho. And I will create a new folder. And I will call this folder whatever, like compact pole processing. But the name does not really matter as long as you know where you have placed your stuff. So I will copy my ortho. And then what we will need, other than this ortho, we need also the 2 Python scripts that have been distributed with your info kit. The first Python script we will launch is Compact Polarimetric Workflow 3. It's the equivalent of the PowerPoint slide. So this is what we will do. So I will just launch it and I will give more details. But what you have to provide if you open this script, all those scripts are very similar. I've made it for this course, but what you have to do is you have to specify an input directory. So this directory will be the one that I just created. This is CP processing in my case. I will just put them aside. It's a matter of. So I will copy the path. I will update my input directory path. So CP processing. The output directory, you can place the data where you want. In my case, I will just create a folder here. I will create it inside the folder I've just created. I will create a folder called Workflow 3, like in that case. So I will create a folder inside the other one. And how do I specify the image I want to process? I often use like the keyword approach for the reason I've mentioned yesterday. Sometimes I do batch processing, so I don't want to enter all the file one by one. There is different ways in Python, but in my case, I use a keyword. So it's a no-brainer here since we only have one file. So we could enter any part of the image that will match part of a string of this file name. So just o_star.pix will just catch this file here is standing alone in this folder in that case. And now after that, you can add a prefix or not. In that case, it's not important. For me, I use a prefix sometimes when I say test 1, test 2, but whatever, you can leave it blank. And which compact polarimetry mode do we want to synthesize? I think since CTRL and DCP are really close, I will just turn off DCP. So I will say no, I don't want to generate the DCP mode. So we'll speed up the processing time. Other thing is also we need to filter the data because when we are doing some compact polarimetric information extraction, it's mostly for the extended target in that case. So target that contains a certain amount of depolarization. So I will specify the NH leaf filter, so PS pol fill, and a filter size. So in that case, we will use a 9 by 9 window. So I will launch it, and after that I will see if it already have been able to start the process. So I will launch my CMD window. And if you don't have Python configured on your computer, you can, I think Kevin, I fixed most of the issue yesterday. You can always copy the script and paste it into your Python scripting window. So let's see if it works in my case. I will simply drag my updated script. It's saved. I started it. And it will process the data for, I think, 2 or 3 minutes in my case. Okay, Python stuff is fixed. Okay, good. So I will just wait 1 minute or two for it will complete. So now I'm generating the decomposition. We are similar to the Freeman and Durden one. For both of my compact pole polarization. Now I'm generating the PS-COMDIS decomposition. This one is similar to the Cloud and Poitiers decomposition, so we will try to retrieve the alpha angles, some orientation angle, the phase information, as opposed to simply the volume, surface, and double bounce fraction. And in my case, everything has been processed. So what we can do here is just to load and focus the PS-COMDEC decompositions for both the CTLR and the pi over from mode, so we can have a look about the information content of those. So what I've loaded here is the 2 file called PS-COMDEC. So this is really similar to the Freeman and Durden decompositions. So every pixel now is expressed as the sum of a double bounce component, a volume, and rough surface. And depending on what have been transmitted for the compact polarization mode, you will get different answer. So I don't know if you remember in this color, so these are approximately the color that we'll observe. When you have some double bounce, this will be displayed in red. If you have some volume, this is mostly in green. The surface appear in blue. And when you have a mix of double bounce and surface, this is more a violet color. And again, volume mixed with double bounce is more like yellow. And you have cyan when it's a surface and volume. So we can keep this in mind. So as you can see with the different compact polarimetric mode, we can get very different answer about what are the scattering mechanism that occurs on the ground. Again, I don't want to repeat it too often, but sometimes the most important thing is just to see if we have a good separability between the length classes we want to extract, or if we can still see some variation within one length cover class. Let's say I'm most interested in bulrush. Even if I cannot estimate the true scattering properties, do I see some variation that are related, let's say, to the density of the plant height? So we will do later an example with the classification, but in that case, sometime like we saw yesterday, if I want to better understand what are the proportion of each scattering mechanism, I can always try to normalize the power. And for compact polarimetry, it's the same than for full quad polarimetry. You can always normalize the power to have a better understanding about the structure. So we will use here the CTLR mode. And what we will do is we will normalize the power for this channel. So how do we do that? So I will first create 4 new channels. So I will just right click on my CTLR file and I will say new raster layer. So I will add 4 channels. Click on add. So I will add 4 32-bit real channel. So these channels are added now. And I will use the easy modeling, so I will just use the magnifier again so everybody can see what I'm typing. Oops. So I want to be sure that in the input file, in the easy modeling window, I just want to be sure that I have selected the right file. So this is the CTLR one. And what I will do here is first I will compute the span, because all those decompositions, one important thing is one of the important feature of a good decomposition that either for compact polarimetry or for full quad is to preserve the span. So if I compute the total backscattered power, let's say for my original channels like RL, RH, or RV, if I transform this coherent channel and I can compute the total power, and if I do a decomposition, so the sum of the component should preserve the span of the original data. So we don't want to mess with the total amount of power. The same thing for the 2Z decomposition, for instance. If you add the eigenvalues, you must get the same answer, the span, the one that will compute for the original covariance or coherency matrix, for instance. So in the case of those compact pole decomposition, the span, so the total backscattered power that have been backscattered to the satellite, is equal to the sum of your 3 components here. So I will say my channel 4, that will be the span, is equal to the sum of my 3 components here. Where is the plus? Sorry, I just cannot find the plus on this computer. It's a big, big technical problem. Okay, channel 1 plus channel 2 plus channel 3. And then what I will do is to normalize each of these parameters by the span. So remember, we have added 4 32-bit channels. So I will say simply that my channel 5 is equal to the channel 1 divided by the channel 4. And I will do the same for the 2 other channels. So my channel 5, channel 6, and channel 7. And that will be channel 2 and channel 3. So after that, if I do the summation of those 3 normalized components, I will end up at 1. So these are the scattering mechanism expressed in fractions. Just want to verify that I'm the right one again. Perfect. And I will run the model. So here in my channel 4, I have the span, so I will just quickly rename them. Here in the channel 5, this is the fraction of double bounce. In my channel 6, this is the fraction of volume. And channel 7 is the fraction of surface scattering. And I will just quickly do the same for the other files. So this is the same decomposition now, but applied to the pi/4 mode. So if you remember, the main difference between these 2 compact polarimetry mode is the pi/4 compact polarimetric mode use a linear transmit at 45 degrees, so this is linear, and you receive the signal in both V and H. So you end up with linear 45 H and linear 45 V. So this is your 2 coherent channel. While the CTLR mode, what you're doing instead is you're transmitting a right circular polarization, and you're receiving your backscattered power in both H, in both V and H. So you have your 2 coherent channel, or RH and RV. So this one tends to be closer to the original quad-pole data, but it's more difficult to reconstruct the orientation a bit with this one, as opposed to using a circular polarization to the transmit. So I will do the same process quickly. For the pi/4, I will add 4 new channels. So 4 32-bit channels. And I will add them. And I will launch again the easy modeling window so I can keep the same script, but now have to be careful. You have to apply it to the other image, the pi/4 one. Just make sure that you have pi/4 selected. Make sure you have your new channels. And then I can click on Run. Quickly, I will rename my channels, just that I remember what I have, the fraction of double bounce, fraction of volume, and the fraction of surface scattering. So the last thing we do here is, if you click here on the File tab, you can select your last three channels, so double bounce, volume, and surface. You select all of them, and then you right-click and you say View as RGB. And I will do the same for the two other one. For the three fraction of the CTLR mode, so I will say View as RGB. So now if you ignore like the node area, you really have now your fraction. And now it's really easier to interpret what are the main differences between these two compact polarimetric mode. And we have the same fraction in the same channels. So for the pi/4 mode, so for the pi/4 mode, if you look all the water surface here, this is really interpreted as a mix of double bounce and surface. So you see how it's hard sometimes with not a lot of information or with some missing information to reconstruct, not reconstruct, but to estimate the scattering properties like they occur. Because in that case, it's not a really windy, it was not a really windy day in that case, and we're supposed to have really a surface scattering. And you see with the pi/4 mode, if you look at the proportion, everything that you have here in your forested environment, the volume scattering is underestimated, but the volume is overestimated in the case of all your wetlands. In the case of the CTRL mode, the volume fraction correspond better in that case to all your forested environment. But in complex scattering environment where you have a lot of mix of scattering type and rotation symmetry and azimuthal symmetry, it's difficult for that mode to cope with those differences. So you have to be aware of that. So it's not entirely possible to estimate the scattering properties. If after that I just have a quick look about the, let's see, we will just see how do my other decomposition looks like. So what you can do here is to load the PSCOMDIS decomposition of the CTLR mode. So what do we have in this decomposition? We mainly have, like we saw yesterday, the degree of polarization, the degree of circular polarization ratio, the degree of the linear polarization, and so on. We have here the alpha angle. So if I just right-click on my alpha angle and I click on View as Grayscale, this is the scattering properties estimated now by something that is not equivalent but that is similar to an Egan decomposition. In that case, if I look at the numeric value of this alpha angle, so these are the scattering type. So all the water surface now are interpreted not really as a pure surface, but since we're more in the 30s, it's a kind of mix of surface, but a rough surface.
Why is the river so different?
The river here?
The small tributaries. Why do they look so different from the main channel?
I don't really know in that case, because even in the quad pole analysis, they also appear bright. Must be because I doubt it was a current in that case because there's not so much velocity. The current. Maybe. We can look at, if we look at yesterday's, go back to yesterday's presentation in my decomposition output. If I load here the image filtered by the PS pole fill, in the case of the full quad data, this is really dark. But don't forget also that with the alpha, the basket rate power is also normalized. So there is a little bit of roughness on the water due to the wind. You can have a stronger alpha. But it's not really a filter issue because, as you can see here, the river is wide enough so you don't have your upland area besides the river. This is not like they are not merged together by the filter. So, and if I look at the entropy of the CTLR mode, the one I've computed with PS Poldis, I look at the entropy. So in general, the entropy computed by the compact pole mode is a bit higher than the entropy that you will likely get with full quad data, because the compact polarimetry mode now have more difficulty to cope with the depolarization of your surface. But the entropy still remains an indication about if your compact polarimetry analysis will provide you information or not. But this is like another parameters you can use to help your interpretation of the alpha angle. So without surprise, all the water surface, except in this region, because here what is happening is we have a certain amount of ambiguity in the azimuth. So here you have a lot of strong scatterer. This is the city of Sorel. And there is a lot of metallic object and the large structure. So the backscatter power in those pixels contaminate a bit this area. So this is surface of water, at least when we look at the structure parameters or when we're looking at some scattering type, the water here appeared not as a water surface, but now you're looking really at the structure of the scattering properties. But again, if you look at the backscatter rate power, now you have a clear distinction between this area of the St. Laurent River and the city of Sorel, just under. So this is something we have said yesterday too. A good analysis always use some structural parameters, some parameters that enhance the scattering properties, but also you need some parameters that represent the backscattered power. So both of those properties are necessary to have a good classification, for example. Yeah.
Can you just open up the histogram for the alpha angle? There's just something interesting happening at 65.
Okay.
It's in both images from the summer and the fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is some mathematical artifacts of the decomposition.
Okay.
Yeah. We have observed that. So maybe John have a more like comprehensive answer, but this is something we have observed over lots of images. And have you observed this when you're using the because you are using also the Charbonneau simulator, and you generate that kind of parameters too? Is it something you have observed?
I did see that. Seems like a lot of pixels in the image have that value, or value greater than 65 anyway.
Mm-hmm. But in that case, this is something that is really mathematical, that kind of disruption. I look at the entropy. And if I look about the orientation angle, so here the orientation angle and the ellipticity, if you look in grayscale, now you try as the same with an Eigen decomposition. In that case, you try to recover the orientation of your object, but in that case, it's a bit less complete than what you have with the full quad data, but still, you can see that you have more information than if you have a dual pole acquisition. So those angles, even if you cannot attach a real physical interpretation to it, they do provide some information. And it's also not only like are the value, but you can see that those angles can be either evenly distributed or they can be random. In the case where you can see this is more like random, this is where you have some volume scattering. And of course, you will always be able to retrieve some angles, but when you have some volumic scattering, those angles will be retrieved in random directions. So the special pattern is important in that case too. But for some wetlands that we saw that their polarimetric properties was really special in the case of the bulrush, you see that with compact polarimetry, we still see those symmetries properties. So which is a good news. But again, the interpretation is a bit difficult in that case. So what we can do now is just to run the other workflow. And after that, we'll do a classification. That will be a little bit more comprehensive. So now we have generated some data that is related to this workflow, the workflow number 3. Now what we will try to do is using the same ortho, we will generate those quantities, and we'll just have a quick, comparison of those files. And this is really like a workflow when you try to understand in details what you're missing, what are the similarities, what are the differences. or if you want to add up methodologies that you had developed for full quad data to compact pole data, so you can likely go through that kind of workflows. But once we'll have real RCM data and once we'll know about the differences or similarities, we won't likely go to the pseudo covariance matrix path. We will go directly to this workflow. So we will be working mainly with compact polarimetric tools.
It has the same kind of thing from Francois' software.
Okay. Which is a good news.
Yeah.
It's not because we have put an extra sign or cosine somewhere. It's just that you try to recover like those angles with a limited amount of information. So you have to make assumption, and I cannot say in details what are all those assumptions, but and the thing is with the compact polarimetry, and there is also with all those algorithms some trial and error because there is no unique solution. So when you apply those equations, and if you look at the different papers, sometimes you see the sign of, how can I say, if you compute the orientation to be the cosine of the helicity by some, you see in the paper sometimes some papers use sine, other use cosine, other use minus of the ellipticity, other use the ellipticity, but not with the minus sign. So there is a kind of trial and error in that case. So now last thing we'll generate is if I open my last Python script, the workflow for, so we will process only one image just to save time. So I will go back to my CP processing folder. And this ortho that we have imported, the FQ15 2009 and October 12, I will just point to this file. So I will update my path. The input directory is my CP processing folder, and I will specify here just a keyword. So I will just be looking for this file in particular. So what happened here if you just put pics as the keyword is it will try also to process all those files that are within your like workflow tree folder. So I will specify the file name. I just want to import this one, and the output directory will be again in my compact pole processing folder. And I will call it workflow 4. And I will keep the other option the same. So again, if you launch this script and you don't specify a keyword that is specific enough for this folder, you will likely grab other files. So one way to solve this could be like to create an empty folder with just this file, but in that case, with this specific file name, I will only grab this one. So we'll see if I'm right. And again, they are not really sophisticated Python script. They are more functional than sophisticated. So let me try it. I will. Yeah, I just found one file, which is the good news. So I will let software process. It might take 3 or 4 minutes. So I'll see what it's doing. So while I'm processing the data, like you, what we will do after that, we'll just a quick classification, and that will complete like the hands-on for this morning. So we will just compare quickly the results, but what we will do after that is we will do a wetland classification. Using the SVM classifier. And what we'll do together is we will first use a full quad image. We will do a segmentation. And after that, from this file, we will collect training sample, just few training sample for simple classes. The other step after we'll have collect the training sample, we will create a copy. Is it working for everybody? Is it processing? Okay. So after that, we will create a copy of this segmentation. And the third step is we will compute some attributes. So we'll compute the mean of some polarimetric parameters for the full quad mode. So we will use mainly the backscatter red power in HH, HV, VH, and VV, plus some angles parameters like the scattering type, like the phase. We will use the eigenvalues, so both structural and parameters in power. And after that, we'll do the same classification, but with compact pole specific parameters. And we'll be able to compare those two results. And that will conclude this hands-on. So we'll see if it might take a couple of minutes. So now we're generating those files. It's working. So it's all set. Okay. Perfect. So now I'm generating now the pseudo-Foley polarimetric covariance matrix. So they will be named recons in that case. And now I'm generating the 2Z's decomposition from the pseudo-quad data. And it's almost done in my case. Almost. Okay. So I have the file I need here. What I will do is, quickly, before we do a classification, let me reduce the magnification here. I will compare the 2Z decomposition from the CT-LR mode. Here I have my pseudo 2Z decomposition. I will load the equivalent, but from full quad data. And I will compare it to the PS-COMDIS decomposition that we have generated previously. This is in the workflow 3 folder. So I will get here, again for the CT-LR mode, I will get my PS-COMDEC decomposition. No, sorry, it's PS-COMDIS in that case. I will remove it from the area, and I will use my PS-COMDIS here, sorry. So we won't cover really in details lots of differences. We already have talked a lot about those differences, but here, sorry, my computer is a bit busy, but here you have, I can say the same version of a decomposition, but using real quad data, using compact polarimetry, and using pseudo quad data. So I will zoom on this region, and we will just look at two parameters, the one that are the easiest to interpret. Here I will view the alpha angle in grayscale. This one I don't need it. This is the equivalent of the Freeman decomposition, so I will just remove it from the project. I will load the alpha angle the dominant one, so the third component, and from the pseudo-quad data, the same parameters, the dominant one. So from the same data now, the same data set, the same image, you have now the three representation of the same scattering type. And then you have the alpha parameters from a compact pole specific decomposition. So again, if you have an alpha angle that is around 45 degrees, you have a dipole scattering. In that case here over the urban area, this is more like a weak double bounce. So the PS-COMDIS parameters tells me that in this urban area, the alpha angle from compact pole specific decomposition are more like weak double bounce. Same goes for the wetlands. My water is, as expected, is not as low as it should be for the alpha angle, but this is surface scattering for a rough surface, so we can assume that the water wasn't really calm that day. There's lots of current, but again, this alpha angle is a bit high because we cannot compensate for all the depolarization effect. What is really strange in that case is those bulrush marches appear as really surface scattering and not like a double bounce like I would expect. But the good news is they are still discriminable from the rest. But again, cannot really have a strong interpretation of the value. If I look from the full quad, so with the quadrature, with the orthogonality between my transmit, since I've transmitted V and H, and I've received V and H in that case, now I can better interpret what are the scattering mechanism, but in that case, I'm closer to, if I load the good one, I have more like dipole scattering and some double bounce between like bare soils and the one have vegetation or some row structure on it. And if I look the pseudo quad data, and what is interesting is comparing the reconstructed pseudo angle with the compact pole specific. So here I try really to get the same information that the one I had in the case of full quad. And most of the time you get a closer approximation, but there is notable difference. Again, all the area that had two dominant scattering mechanism cannot be really well like reconstructed, and the image tends to be a little bit noisier. And you could have the same information, and this tributary here is really intriguing. I've never really understood why it was appearing like so bright for some parameters. But this is not a filter effect. So here we have three versions of the same parameters. So which one is the best? Or which one is the most useful? The reconstructed one or a one from a compact pole specific decomposition? Now it's up to you to decide. But it's really through your application that you can decide what is the most suitable. And just if we look at one last parameter, the entropy, so we can compare now the entropy. So how well polarized are the surface? So here I will view in grayscale the entropy of the full quad decomposition. The entropy from the reconstructed, but to get those I will just load up the cloud and Poitiers decomposition now. If I load my cloud and Poitiers decomposition from my full quad data, so this is the entropy estimated by full quad data in that case, and except for this area, water is really low, so this is a well polarized surface. But as you can see here, the tributary, there is a lot of depolarization that is going on. So maybe it was the current, but I doubt that. But there is something in the signal that make it very unpolarized. So if I compare this entropy to the reconstructed one, what are the rated difference? So and I will use the CTLR. So we'll compare it against the entropy that have been reconstructed. So as you can see, and this is the last point I want to make, even if you're using reconstructed area, you can see now in those urban areas, the entropy is not that high. This is is moderately high, but this is 0.8 for the entropy. Wetland, though there is mainly cattails area, so you have two scattering mechanisms. You have one backscattering from the steam and one from the water and the steam and water interaction. And you have, in those urban area, you have a mix of surface bounds, but plus multiple backscattering. So from those areas where a polarimetric analysis is really important, if you look at the entropy, the reconstructed one, you see that this is way higher. So this is for those surfaces, or for those kind of land use classes, that you're really like losing some discrimination, or you're really losing some information when you transition from full quad to compact pole. By comparing the entropy is a way to understand this phenomena, because higher the entropy is, it means that less you're able to recover your structure information from your plants, or from different kind of crops or different kind of forest stand. So by comparing this entropy, now you can clearly see the difference. And whatever the entropy is higher for the reconstructed one, this is where you will you're losing the most information. So now, of course, we could just go through every parameters and look the difference at every one of those, especially the phase. But I think now you got my point. So what I propose now, we can maybe have the break. And what I would like to do after the break is we will do a classification now. This will be a bit more interactive, maybe a bit more entertaining. So we'll do this classification on both a full quad data set and on a compact pole data set, and we'll see if we can get the same classes. And if yes, that's what we find. If not, we'll try to see why and which classes have, like, we'll see suffer the most. So we can take a break now. Yeah. Good to go? Okay. So we're about to start the last part of this training. So what we will do now is a classification, and we will use some of the file that we have generated previously, like this morning and yesterday morning. So I will just guide you through the process. And that will be a very simple classification of the Lac Saint-Pierre area. And we'll be using first a segmentation and the SVM classifier. So I will give you some time to create a new, I should call it something else. Sorry, I will create my new folder here. Just reduce. We'll show you in one moment. I will create a new folder here called classification. And I will show you which files to use. It's okay, almost done. So the file that we will need, we need 4 files. We'll just rename my folder classification. Classification. I will increase the magnification. And the file you will need, they are in different folders, but you will need the ortho-rectified version of the Lac Saint-Pierre area. For the image, everything will be for the October 12th. So you need this ortho, so you recover it through your file, depending on where you have saved the output file of the different script. In the folder, in the folder name workflow tree in my case, we have generated it yesterday. You have here the full quad 2Z decomposition, again for October 12th. Here what I have is my synthesized CTLR file. So this is the synthesized one. So there is no other processing that have been applied. So this is the synthesized one. And finally, the other file that I need for this quick demonstration is the PSCOMDIS decomposition that I've generated using the CTLR mode, the one that I've generated, the one that is equivalent to the RCM mission. So again, one last time, I need the octo-rectified file, the FQ15, 2009, 10, and 12. The synthesized CTLR compact polarimetric mode that we have generated this morning. You need the 2Z decomposition that we have generated yesterday. That is called FQ, 2Z, TSVM9, PSPolFill9, etc. And be sure that it's always correspond to the October 12th. And the last one, this file we have generated it this morning too, is the PSCOMDIS decomposition. So this is a decomposition that is similar to the cloud or the 2Z decomposition for incoherent target. We can call it extended targets. So the first thing I will do now is to create a segmentation that will and I will use the segmentation for both of my analysis. So I will create a common segmentation. So I will use, let me stop the magnification. So I will use the install that you have of Geomatica 2018. I will here use the ortho first. So we are using the original ortho. So we will generate the decomposition for this SLC image, ortho-rectified SLC image. And I will launch my segmentation using the object analyst in that case. So if I go here in Analysis, Object Analyst, I will go to the first step, which is the segmentation. And the thing I have to specify here is which channel do I want to use to do my segmentation. And here I will specify my 4 complex channels. There is also here an option called SAR preprocessing settings. It's just that before applying any like segmentation of radar data, it's always a good idea to filter a bit to get like more like compact object. So I will use the default option.
If you already filtered, is there a way to not filter again?
No.
Okay.
You re-expect your single looks complex image. Mm-hmm. But this for the case, because but in that case, okay, if you have a filtered image, if this is already filtered, now you can apply because the matrix type will be different, so you won't have this SAR preprocessing option if this is not complex data. And then the output file, I will just give a name like segmentation. And I will call it like 35 because we will use here the scale for the segmentation parameters. We have 3 unitless parameters. So we can control a bit the size of the object. If you specify a small number, you will get, of course, smaller object. But if you select something like 100, 200, you will get very large objects, but they will encompass different kind of length cover. So the shape and compactness here, this is pretty self-describing. Shape, if you increase the number, you will tend to follow more the contour, let's say, of the fields. So you give more importance to the shape of the object to follow more, in that case, like the contour of the different agricultural fields at the expense of compactness. So you might get very elongated objects. So in that case, I will just, for this quick demonstration, I will just keep the default option in that case. And the layer name will be segmentation 1 again.
Sorry, can you say in the same file or different file output?
It's a different file output. So I just created a new name here called segmentation 35. And here layer, that will be the name of the layer itself. So it will be like pretty fast, but we'll just have to wait a minute, and all the other steps will be really quick. It's just this one is a bit longer. And just to answer one question, is the way it works with SAR data is when the object analyst here, the one you're using, if it identifies that this is a complex single channel, we call it like S1C, or dual pole complex, S2C, or fully quad. we expect to do the pre-processing inside the object analysis. And in that case, we have the filter, and we have also, you saw the other option about the tail trimming. One of the problems with those segmentation is the distribution of SAR data. You always have a long tail. So by specifying a different tail trimming, you give more importance to those areas, like agriculture, wetlands, so you will extract more object over those areas. But if you don't exclude those outliers, you will have lots of small objects over the urban areas and very large objects for the rest, where everything will be mixed. But if you want to have the full control over the pre-processing, because there is different option. So if you have a pre-processed file, if you have already filtered it, if you have already applied some enhancements to it, the matrix type won't be one of those. It will be another matrix type. Or you can always delete this matrix type. And in that case, the SAR pre-processing option will be disabled. So no further filtering will be applied. And if you have optical data, of course, this SAR pre-processing option will be disabled. So now we're just finishing the segmentation. It will take just maybe 30 seconds more. Now I get my objects. And what we will do together is just to collect few samples for different land cover classes. So I will go to my training site editing. Training site editing here. I will click on edit. So just add here a class that you can name water, and we'll do it quickly together. And I will collect few samples. You can just use your mouse and just drag a corner. And when I have some objects selected, I will click on assign. So those 31 objects will be added to the water class. So here I have created a second class. For the moment, it's named class number 2. And I will collect here few samples over a forested area. You can change the color if you want. So I will collect some object over my forested area. I click on assign. And there is another area here. All this is forested area. So I will again collect some samples here. I will assign it. Now I will do the same over my urban areas. So here, class number 2, I will name it forest. The class number 3 here, I will call it like urban 1. And this urban 1, I will collect some area that have some double bounce effect on it or in it. So I will assign the object to these classes. So here is an area where I have double bounce. And I will create another class of urban area that will correspond to those neighborhoods for which the streets are not well aligned with the radar line of sight. So I will add another class. I will call it urban 2 with some volume. And here I will select red in the case of these classes. And I will select another kind of red for the second one. And I highlight my urban 2. I will select some object to put in it, and we'll click on Assign. Select few more and Assign. And now, just to test the system, I will create a class called agriculture. And I won't be very specific about which kind of agriculture I want to extract. I will just select a light green here and select a lot of different kind of fields with different kind of backscatters. Some that are really flat, some that show a little bit of double bound, some that have more volume. But it's hard to know if this is due to crops or due to the roughness. We should look, for instance, at the combination of the alpha and entropy to have a better idea. But in power alone, this is a bit more difficult. So I click on Assign. I will select here a few more agricultural classes in this region, mainly like this. And just to complete this example, I will select some wetlands area in this region. That won't be a perfect classification, but we'll see some differences anyway. So I will select some purple, and I will call it wetlands. And I will select some bulrush, some area that have correct with bulrush. I will click on Assign. And I will also add some low march area, like in that case. So I'm selecting those one too. And this is it. I will just remove the unassigned class. So now I have a set of very simple classes. They are the training sites. I know it might be difficult for you to collect all those classes, but just select few classes. And what I will do now is I have all my training samples, and they are automatically saved into the segmentation. So if we want to do a supervised classification, the next step will be to compute some attributes. And this is where now we'll start a different workflow for both compact pole and full quad data. So I have my classes and I have some colors assigned to it. So now what I will do is I will close this panel. All my training samples are saved into my segmentation. And since we want to do a good comparison between compact pole and full quad, we will use the same segmentation with the same training samples. So now I'm closing my Geomatica session. And now you have the segmentation here that I've generated that contains both the objects and the training samples. So I will create a copy. And this one, I will say this is my full quad version, and the other segmentation will be the copy of it. That will be my compact pole version. So I will compute compact pole specific attributes for this one. So here are my two segmentation. The compact specific one, segmentation 35, and the other one, the full quad one. So I reopen Geomatica now. So now I have to select the image from which I want to compute all the attributes. So I will load, we will start with full quad first. So let me load here the full quad data, the segmentation. So these are my objects, and I do hope that my training samples are saved. So to check that, I just open the attribute table of the segmentation, and I see that there is a field named training, and every object that are associated to a training sample will have here a mention here in the training. They will have the field that is no, they are not saved. Why was that? So do you have your training fields saved? No, in my case, I didn't save the training field. Sorry, this will be difficult in that case. So I will reopen the object analyst with the training site editing. I will select my segmentation. Yeah, I just forgot to save. It's really my fault in that case. I forgot to save the information, but I will just collect those training sample quickly. I will say assign forest. I will assign some objects. For urban one, this is the one that have some double bounce effect. So this is here in the city of Sorel. I will collect this. I will say save. I will add my objects here. I will do the same for this classes. Urban that shows some volume. I will add my objects.
So is it just the orientation of the streets?
Yeah. But I always can create two classes to see if they are well combined after that, and you can always merge them later. But they are the same kind of land cover, but they are really, it's just a difference in the street orientation. So agriculture, I will select those objects. On the sign, I will select my new ones here and say assign. And then I will go back to my agriculture here. I will select those, assign the objects, go to my wetland classes. assign, and I will select also those wetlands. And I will assign those to the wetland class. I don't need my class number 9, so I unassign it. And I will also remove this empty class. So now I will save all this information. Now I have my training samples. What I will do here is I will create a copy of this segmentation in the same way I did previously. So I am in my classification folder. So I will create a copy. So now if I close this panel and I reopen my training sites, now they will be saved. Okay. So the second step is I will use my full quad imagery. I will use here the original image. I have my channel in power. I will open now the segmentation I just saved. And hopefully now I will just check again if the training sites have been saved. If I didn't do a mistake again. No. They have disappeared. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you were assigning the classes in the FP segmentation, not the CP segmentation. So you have to go
Now, what is happening? I just discovered something, and it's unfortunate. Is you really have to compute some attributes and then collect the training sites, because it seems that there is like a small item in the object analyst. So I didn't save. Yeah. So.
FP segmentation. I think it might contain the training.
So, no, in that case, the way the demo I wanted to do won't work in that case. So I'm really sorry about that. So if I look at the attribute here, and if I look at my training, are they still here? So, no. So we really expect the training site to be collected after the attributes. It's a bit different than what I do usually. So no, because what it wants is you go to the object analyst, and then from the segmentation, I will just go to the attribute calculation, and you select the source channels. In that case, I have my 4 complex channels, and then you can compute some predefined polarimetric attributes like the scattering type, the entropy, or the anisotropy, the eigenvalues. Then you compute those, and you save it into your segmentation. And then you compute those attributes, and then you collect the training samples. But I wanted to do the opposite, to reuse the same segmentation, but it's not working like it used to be. So now I have my attribute table here that contain some polarimetric parameters, and then you can go now to the training site collection and collect your site again and proceed to the classification. But the demo I wanted to do this morning to compare directly the compact pole with the full quad won't work. this morning, unfortunately. So again, if you take some forested area, if you take some urban area as well, we'll just for the sake of completion, I will again select urban 1, urban with some volume. I will assign it agriculture, again from 1 last time, agriculture, assign. I will select a few more to have a few more samples, and then my wetlands. Assign. And then my wetlands, I can assign it. And then I can go to the classification step where I specify what are my training, a name for the output class, let's say class F1. And then this is the SVM classification, so I select one of those kernels. So with SAR data, the radial basis function is the one that worked the most for me. This is really the one that is, I don't have mathematical proof for that, but the radial basis function in case of SAR is the one that is the best. And then you can normalize your data. And since all your polarimetric parameters have different distribution, it's a good idea to normalize all the parameters between 0 and 1. So it helps a lot to get a better classification. And then you just launch your classification. And you classify your objects. But now just remember that I just did a quick demonstration about what are the different classes we can have. So there is lots of class confusion, but if I want to see my classification in full color, I will just go to the class edit step. And I will set the opacity to 100%. But again, I just did a really quick classification, so I've selected like the class a bit randomly. But it's an example of polarimetric classification you can do. But of course, now we have some confusion. But for the last part of this demonstration, where I wanted to do a comparison with the compact pole stuff, now unfortunately, I won't be able to do it for the time being. Yeah.
When you define your training points,
Mm-hmm.
or which are those segments, the value of training points would be the average of pixels in that segment?
Yeah. So all the computation is done, like for the alpha angle or the beta angle. So you take all the pixel, the value, and you compute the covariance matrix for the average for this object. This is a bit different, but that gives the same result than if you generate the image. Let's say you generate the image with the alpha angle, and then you have your object, and you compute directly the mean. In that case, this is not that. In that case, of the object analyst, you have your single look complex image, the S for C matrix. So you extract the percent of the scattering matrix that correspond to the object, and then you convert this into a coherency matrix, a 1-point coherency matrix, and you compute the parameter. But you can do it in both ways, and you will get around the same values.
I'm not sure if you showed also, Gabriel, you can, if you do field work and you want to attribute the polygons based on your field work, there's a way to import that data in and to assign polygons to training sites.
Yeah, because if you have ground field truth, there is also this training site editing. There is also the import ground truth points. And then it can be a shapefile or a PIX file containing points. And then you can import those, and you will do every polygons that contain a training field site. You will create an attribute table, and you will assign the class to it. And if it's happened that you have different kind of, let's say, of classes within one polygon, you have conflict resolution rules. So you can always say that if it's happened that one polygon contains different kind of land cover classes, it will take the majority and assign it to the attribute table, let's say to forest, or take the first one you read. If it's happened that this is this one, the first, it will assign in different classes, or do nothing. So we ignore this one. Okay. So this concludes a bit abruptly like the last part of this presentation. This ends on. So we see that there is possible to do a quick classification, but now I've just selected rapidly some land use classes, so we get a bit of confusion like you can see. But one of the points I want to emphasize again, if you do a classification, is it's both to incorporate both parameters in power and parameters that contain some structure. So thank you for your attention for this last part of the training, even if it's been a bit chaotic, and thank you. So I think I hand it over to Kevin. So I guess Kevin is coming with a quiz.
Everyone was paying attention.
No test, please.
There's a test.
It's not going to be a test. Okay, there you go.
It's a fun test. So I just want to go through a few things before we do the fun stuff, just to kind of wrap things up and give you some next steps and follow-ups and so on. So the first thing I want to mention is that we do offer a lot of training. This was one form of training that we offer, but we try to give you many different options depending on where you are in the world. We have customers all over the world, as you know, and it's great to be here in Ottawa and to get to attend an in-person training. But we a few years ago decided that we would stand up like a self-paced training, and that's what we plan to do with this course. Actually, is to take all of this content and to turn it into a self-paced training course that you'll be able to go back and review. We had some suggestions already in the course to maybe as part of these courses to do a bit of a refresher on how to use Geomatica. If those of you who maybe use other software and aren't quite sure how to manipulate the software, we kind of made an assumption that you already knew how to do that, which maybe was a mistake. So we apologize for that. But going forward, if you do want to refresh your knowledge on Geomatica, we offer 4 separate courses that are all free to take. You could just head to our resources page, and if you go under Geomatica training, you'll land on this page here. We have all the videos available on YouTube, so if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see all these modules. But what's kind of nice is to actually register for free on Udemy, and then what that gives you is like is progress. Like, you know, I did this module, I did this quiz, I got this score, like this kind of stuff, right? You can download material. We package like imagery, and we package Python scripts, and we give you everything you need to complete a module. So we plan to do that again with this course as well. So that's important on training. We of course, you know, offer mostly in-person training. We don't like to do online training. We've done that in the past. We've stood up online training and get people to register, and then we just kind of sit there with a headset for 3 days. We found that wasn't great for both the attendees and for us. So we prefer to engage like this in person, or to create a resource that you can go and use at your own pace. Lots of other material available. We have all of the Geomatica learning guides. So if you go here to the bottom part of this page, you can download the course manuals. So there's like a Geomatica 1, Geomatica 2, Ortho Engine. There's a radar manual, there's an SAR manual. There's a lot of material available for you to review. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of those resources, so that you can go back and revisit them. So as I mentioned, we'll be transforming this course into this format. Probably not going to happen overnight. It might take us a little bit of time. There's like 5 days of footage, and that's going to be Mauro's task when we go back. So the next thing I want to mention is I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just want to make a quick mention about kind of where we're going as a company and what's coming up. So this was an info card that we put in some of the packages that you got. So this is, I was mentioning at the break to a few people, PCI is kind of taking a bit of a turn back towards science, and the theme of our release for 2018, which came out in October, is analysis ready data tools. And really we're spending a lot of time, our research science team is spending time both on optical and radar to allow you to generate analysis ready data products using PCI software. And we have a few projects on the go with some of the people in the room actually. Our suggestion or the way we see this working is we have, of course, Geomatica, but we also have this large volume production system known as GXL. And you know, this is a big data problem. So what we've done is we've actually deployed GXL to a few sites here in Ottawa to do the large volume data processing. And then we actually have created technology to populate the ARD data directly into the data cube. So that's an active area. And those are the 3 projects that are going on in the room. So flood risk assessment is with CCMEO, urban change is with ECCC, and then the deforestation project is with the Pacific Forestry Center out in Victoria. So these are all active projects that we're doing right now. Some of these we're kind of all throwing in resources into the ring to, you know, have some success. Some are paid trials. It's a mix of each, and we're open to everything. So just want to let you know, like, if you're interested to collaborate with us, we definitely should talk about that. Just one last note on kind of the product. So this is the feature graphic that comes up when you load the software. And does anyone recognize what this is? Or, well, it probably says right on there, but sorry? Yes, it's Algonquin Park. We've chosen to start a theme basically with our releases coming up. So we're proud to be a Canadian company, and we want to tie that into our brand. So basically this is Algonquin Park, which is kind of one, you know, first letter in the alphabet. So we're going to be naming our products according to park names going forward. So the next release is going to be Banff, and then we'll go from there. So we're just working our way through the alphabet. But we chose Algonquin Park because it's, you know, we're from Ontario, and this actually turns out to be one of my favorite canoe routes that I've done with my kids many times, and it's a wonderful place to be. And so anyway, so when we go around the world and we show our products, people have a really positive reaction to the fact that we're a Canadian company, so we thought we'd make it official and put that in our branding. For 2019, so 2019 is, I'm not going to give dates, but it's due mid-2019 is kind of when we're planning to release. We had a full release in October, and we did a service pack about 2 weeks ago. We probably won't do another service pack. We'll do a full release next, and that's going to be mid-year. What's going to be in the highlights of the new major release is going to be ARD, more automation for optical, and ARD for radar. There'll be some specific work around that. The last part of the demonstration that Gabrielle gave was on Object Analyst. You've been using the GUI to do that. All of the algorithms are going to be available to do that through automation. So you'll have Python level algorithms to do the segmentation, polygon attribution, the classification, all that work can be done as a workflow. Sentinel-1 TOPS is on the list, and I'm going to push hard for that one because I know that people want it. And RCM is actually in the service pack already. So we did do some work to support the RCM data, all the different modes. We're talking to Gabriel and John a little bit over breaks and stuff to make sure that we're good to go there. But if you want to go and try to load some simulated RCM products, we did put some effort towards that in the service pack, so you can go do that. We just didn't make it sort of public as part of the release because there's no real products out there, and we're not quite sure how it's all going to fall out, until we see real data. But for those of you who want to see how it's working, you can go play with the simulated data. That's it for the speechifying. A couple of other cleanup things. So I will be sending you a link to this survey. It's a bit of a mix of kind of where you see things going in our industry with regards to SAR. So it'll be things like, what do you do with radar? What kind of applications are you doing? What kind of sensors are you using most? So this, I just want to explain this a bit because I use Google Forms. It might not be super obvious. But I guess what would be nice here is for you to rank which sensor you use most. So the columns could be completely disorganized. It's just, choose, if it's RADARSAT and RCM that you use most, then you would select, obviously, the rank 1 box and kind of work your way down. Other than that, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But then at the bottom, this is really kind of like your assessment of the course. And we tried to break it down into different categories, so you can give us some feedback there. And then other comments, other areas for improvement. So I'll be sending this link around. Hopefully everyone got the emails I sent yesterday. Everyone, pretty much, because the Carleton U emails were not working, but they're working now. You got the picture? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's it. Any questions about anything so far? No? All right. Time to play. Everyone's got internet? So you can do this on your phone or on your computer. And for those of you on YouTube, I don't know if there's anybody listening or not, but they can participate as well. It'd be hard to give them the slinky, but they can try. So yeah, as I mentioned, we've got these slinkies. We didn't really use them, but I bought a bunch of them just for fun. So we're going to give away the 4 remaining slinkies to the top 4 people in this quiz. So I'm going to basically, whoa, it's very loud. There's music, be ready. I'm going to turn it way down. There we go. All right. So if you go to kahoot.it, just go to kahoot.it. I'm going to turn that down. That's going to be super annoying. So if you just go to the website and then you'll be asked to put the PIN number, and then they'll ask you to put your name, and then we're going to do a couple of practice questions before. The first 2 questions don't count for any points, okay? It's just to get you used to the interface. It's not super complicated, but it's a little bit. All right, let's do this. So let me know if you need more time, if you want to play, if you're in. Wow. Does everyone? So it'll report on progress as you, like it'll be a leaderboard. Like after every question, there'll be like a leaderboard. So hopefully you recognize who you are, so you can track how you're doing. Online person 1, okay. That's unique. So is everyone ready to go? Couple more seconds. Everyone's good? Ready? All right. The first one is just going to be, oh. Anyone in here need more time? No? All right. Okay, so there's 19 questions. The first 2 for no points. So the first question is, what are the first 4 letters of the alphabet? 4 questions are correct. So you can basically, on your phone or on your computer, you'll see 4 things like this. So you can select either one. So in this case, all 4 are right, because A, B, C, or D are all the first 4 letters of the alphabet. So 18 people have answered. I don't know how many are in. I didn't count. 20 answers. So I think it'll either time out, or once everybody's answered, then we will know. So you have 60 seconds for each question. Yeah. The first 2 are not worth any marks. Yes, Leslie? You can only select one. You can't select multiple. So some questions will have more than one answer that's correct. As long as you answer one correctly, you'll get the points. It's not weighted like, 2, yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, one person didn't get that one right. So next opportunity to learn the interface. So this time you'll get a picture, and there's going to only be 3 answers that are right. 1 is wrong, just to get you used to the interface, okay? So, oh, these are the, I don't know, it's not for any points. So we'll get this after every question. Okay, so this one, first 4 letters of the alphabet again. 3 of them are right, 1 is wrong. Okay, so, and I put a picture this time. Sometimes there'll be pictures, sometimes there won't be pictures. So if you want to see what an incorrect answer like, put Z or Z, and then you'll see what that looks like. It should flash red on your screen. But if you click A, B, or C, then you'll get a green check mark. No points. Again, no points. It's stressful, I know. Very stressful. All right. So, okay, is everyone ready for the real thing? Here we go. Okay, first math question. This symbol means that you're working with calibrated signal in horizontal plane, ground range, slant range, acquisition, perpendicular to radar line of sight, or intensity. So the symbol is at the front there. I think it's beta naught. Is it, John? Yeah. So some are hard, some are fun. Sometimes there's more than one right answer. Everyone's got it? Okay, I'm gonna skip. Looks like everyone's answered. All right, so slant range was the correct answer, and 11 people got that. So this is our leaderboard right now. So I think it scores based on how quickly you answer as well. So if you, yeah. Ah. Yeah. So Rick is in the lead. All right, you ready for the next one? Okay, what is this man doing? Protecting himself from C-band radar, signaling alien acting as a corner reflector for calibration, registering SAR course. What is this man doing? Maybe he's trying to reboot his computer. I don't know. He looks confused. All right, I think we got 23 people. So when I hit 23, I'm going to go next. Oh, all right. Rick is still in the lead. I think everything was correct. Like there were no wrong answers there. Yes. Okay, where is speckle most likely to occur? Water, field with bare soil, bright metallic target, field with short vegetation. Most likely to occur. Two more people. One person. All right. Okay, so everything was correct except for bright metallic target. All right. Let's see what's happening. Rick's still in the lead. Got Tom. Who's ZC? Tom. Okay. Oh, we got Cam F and Cam S. Okay. Everyone good with their standing? I don't see. I'm expecting other people to come up to the top here. Let's see. Okay, John Wessel's favorite satellite/sensor. MODIS, Landsat, Pleiades, NISAR. This is the networking part of the week. If you're networked, you'll know this answer. Sorry?
I think this is incorrect. No, I heard him say CareSat.
Oh. Okay, maybe that's coming up later. All right, so the correct answer was NISAR. And 19 people got that right, so that's great. Rick's still rocking it. Tom. All right. The best way to detect the uppermost vegetation canopy. P-band, X-band. Oh, that should be something else. X-band again, multispectral. What is the best way to detect the uppermost vegetation in the canopy? That's a typo. Two more to go, two more people. Need more too, one more. Someone's really like waiting, like this is like a trick question. Like at this point, oh, there we go, okay. So the correct answer was actually optical, because if you remember, even the X-band, which is the shortest wavelength, does penetrate through the canopy a little bit. Trick question. Pay attention, folks. All right, next, okay, so there's our leaderboard again. Looks like it's not moving too much. Okay, what was the first SAR mission in space? Cosmos SkyMed, ERS-1, CSAT, or RADARSAT-1? This one, I think everybody knows it seems like, pretty quick. Two more people to go. One more person? Okay, I'm going to cut it off in 3, 2, 1. CSAT was the correct answer. 1978, is it? Yep. 79? And I asked if there were any radar sensors before, and the answer I got from John was no. So Like, sorry, military, yeah, not spaceborne. Okay, oh, Tom and Tom R. Tom R, where's Tom R? Yes, so you're moving up in the ranks? Oh, you moved down. Okay, well, who's Tom? Tom Zagon? Tom's up then. Tom's moving up in the rankings. All right, watch out for Tom. Okay, best platform for INSAR coherence. PALSAR, RADARSAT, TandemX, RCM. All right, everyone's in. Answer is TandemX. If people were listening, a lot of people got that right. That's good. All right. Okay, Morrow is broadcasting the course to Twitter, Facebook, C-SPAN, YouTube. One person doesn't know. Okay, last person voted. Correct answer is YouTube. One person got it wrong. Well, Twitter might be right. Twitter might be right, actually. There's a link to it, but officially it's on YouTube. All right. The length of the RADARSAT 2 antenna in meters. 15.1, 12.5, 5, 100. No cheating. You guys are cheating. Okay, everyone voted? The answer is 15.1. All right. Oh, Rick, you're going down. What's going on? We need some more fun ones. You're good at those. Okay, second math question. So this symbol, value for RCM. What is the value of that symbol for the RCM mission? Centimeters, in centimeters. There you go. Most people got that right. Perfect. All right, Tom Zagon up at the top. Okay, what can a slinky help demonstrate? Oh, I got that wrong. I forgot to put the answers in. I think I drafted this one up. I forgot to put the answers in, so there are no correct answers in this case. So you can vote anything. I think everyone, yeah, answer quickly. Get in. I don't know if I marked them all as right. I probably did. So if you just click on something really fast, you get points. All right. I put D. I don't know. Sorry about that. Yeah. You have to throw in some. Yep. We have to throw in a little bit of random stuff in here to even the playing field. Okay. Okay, what is a canonical target? Is it a military facility? Is it a church? Is it a target with a plane of symmetry? Or is it a corner reflector? Or is it more than one of those? Who knows? All right, 23 people done. So the correct answer was a target with a plane of symmetry. That was the Gabriel official answer. And then corner reflector is also a canonical target. Hopefully everyone got the joke on the church. Okay, Gabriel's favorite polarimetric decomposition. Is it a onesie, a twosie, a threesie, or a twosie? One person doesn't know. Okay. Or isn't sure. Yeah. Somebody said twosie. Close. It sounds the same, but it's not spelled the same. All right. So we're down to some of the last questions here. So what does this equation calculate? Phase, backscatter, coherence. It's too early for math. Alrighty. Oh, there's a 24th person in there somewhere. Okay. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Sorry if I've been cutting you off. Yeah. So the correct answer is, it's too early for math was correct, and coherence was also correct. All right. Tom Zagon in the lead. 2 interferograms of the same location. Why is the spacing of the fringes different? Coherence is stronger, different in each pair. Baseline length differences. Wavelength is different. One is calibrated, one is not. Just when you think you're having fun, you got to think again, you know? Two more to go. All right. So the correct answer was baseline length differences, and it could also have been that the wavelength is different. Those could have been the 2 correct answers. All right. The correct sequence to derive polarimetric information from RADARSAT 2. SAR ingest, PX boxcar, PS 2Z deck, SAR ingest, PS polfill, Van Zyl, phone Gabriel. Swipe left, don't look back. Swipe right, why not? Kind of like Tinder, you know? All right. So these were the correct answers. You can phone Gabriel, and those other ones were correct as well. All right, Tom is ahead by a lot. I think Tom's going to take it. Well, we got Tom Rainville. Who's JL? And ZC. That's, okay, here we go. All right. What shape do you see in the group photo? 2 radar pulses, conga line, speckle, smiley face. And behind in the white part, yeah. All right. Correct answer. There was many. They were all correct. We're not. I think we were trying to do 2 radar pulses, but we put them all as correct. So that's it. So the podium, Tom R, and JL. So Tom, come on up and get your slinky.
Thanks. The only one I got it wrong is the one where you provided answers.
Well, there you go. Congrats. The champion of the radar course. Second place, Tom Rainville. Way to go, Tom. So proud of you. And I forget who was 4th, but if someone remembers who was 4th, I think it was one of you 2 guys. Maybe do rock, paper, scissors. And then we'll, okay, 3rd place, JL. Oh, so you're 4th then. So congrats, and then there you go. Enjoy the slinkies. There you go. Oh, we had the results there. Oh, Brad's 4th. It's true. There you go. It's all fixed. Perfect. So that's it. So perfectly on time. Thanks again for everyone for being here this week. I hope you enjoyed the course. We'll be sending you the link with that survey. We will be sticking around, like myself and Maura are kind of like, packing everything up, so we're going to be here for a while. If you want to talk to Gabriel or John over lunch and come back after lunch if you want to, but formally this is it for the course. We thank you once again for being here, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot.